Welcome to Season 2
of the Coco Lesa Podcast.
It's real hip-hop music from the soul, y'all.
From the soul. It always start with loving, don't it? That we always end up fighting, but we could fall off long as we get back to riding, homie. You the only one I see.
Boom.
Hey guys, welcome back.
What's going on, everybody? Really interesting. Forgive that long pause, but the thing that's so funny to me is one of our biggest episodes, one of our most downloaded episodes is Immigration, right? But the funny thing about that is this episode is probably going to be what everybody thought that episode was actually going to be.
Yeah, I think we're coming at it from a different angle than we did previously.
Right. A part of this, so the reason for this talk, which you'll kind of see in the title, was talking to one of our best friends, and she messaged us about Wakanda to see what we thought about the movie, about the Black Panther. And the response, which is true, is that's a very hot topic for us. It's something that we debate frequently.
Yeah. Because
we're on different sides of the fence when it comes to the movie. But it also affects us in real life in a very real way. And that's why we debate it so heavy. And so this episode is going to be kind of 3 parts, right? We're talking about the Diaspora. We're talking about Immigration /refugees, and we're talking about our take on the Black Panther and how it affects us culturally.
The T'Challa Killmonger conversation.
Right, and another big, heavy topic for us that bangs hard is refugees, because we're on different places in those. And part of what affects me in that conversation, this is going to be a bold statement, but I'm saying it anyway, is from an indigenous perspective, I'm a nationalist. And I'm talking about, I'm a Maori nationalist. I'm a Kanaka nationalist, you know? And that's very different than what that term means when colonizers use it. So a lot of my views are geared towards that. That sound you hear is my baby throwing her toys on the floor. So how do you want to kick it off? Which one of these do you want to start with? I know you have your questions ready.
Okay, so, my first question so my first question is, do you think countries have a responsibility to take in refugees?
I would like you to lead on that, and I want you to speak on that first so you can share your views with us.
Okay.
So before you jump into your take on this, right, the reason that this episode is so wild, so before you jump into your take on this, the reason, and this is going to sound messed up, but this is real, the reason that this episode is such a hot topic and it's so wild is because I really get surprised by the ignorance of our community on these things sometimes. Like when Australia had the vote on same-sex marriage, some of like the super ignorant like comments that came out of that.
You know what's funny is that, like, I find that a lot of POC who are immigrants themselves don't want more immigrants coming into the country, and I think I've had that from a lot of angles. Like I talk about it all the time. When I was living in Australia, one of the most racist conversations I ever had was from an Indian man. I was a team leader in a call center, right? And he was like one of my last calls, and I was frustrated. And he was like trying to guilt me into something, and I'm really not a fan of that. And he was like, "You want my wife to die?" And I was like, "Yep." And he lost it. And he was like, "What's your name? Where are you from?" And you're actually not obligated to give people your names, but I gave him my name anyway. And he was like, super thick Indian from India accent. And he was like, "You people come here and you steal up all the jobs and you take away from good Australians." And I was like, wowzers. But even we saw that recently in the video that we watched, where I showed you with the primaries, with people voting, and you kept getting upset. Yeah.
And I was just having this conversation because even with the Trump vote, and the thing that's wild about it is, I have the conversation from the point of view, there are so many Hispanics and Latin Americans and Latinos that voted against their own interest. But there are so many Pacific Islanders that said the same thing. Not taking shots at our Mormon community, but we know it was you. But go ahead.
Utah.
Facts. You feel like what though?
I feel like a lot of POC, like, they feel like they have to vote that way. Not that they have to vote that way, but they're like, oh no, I'm different.
I agree with you. So I think it stems from the desire for white acceptance.
Yeah.
And a lot of POC will vote against their own interest. This one guy was Mexican, and his parents came here illegally. And he was like, I don't think illegal should be let in. Not with all the hard work. And he was talking about his parents sincerely, but still not making that connect. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us did the same thing. You know, there are a lot of us POC that have all white friends and have a white partner, and make choices based on wanting to be accepted and be a part of the white community. A part of the white community, and not want to be viewed like, oh, well, I don't hang out with any of my people. I'm not like them. I'm different.
And I think going back to our question, which was, do you think countries have a responsibility to take in refugees? So what's your take on it?
Nah, I want to hear yours first, because mine is, pretty.
I think, I'm practicing my Spanish, so sí, pero no.
Well,
yes, but no.
Go ahead.
I mean, no, but yes, I suppose.
And that's just a sign of where we're at now, because you used to be a hard yes, like unequivocally on the refugee issue,
and I kind of am.
And you slammed very hard countries, including New Zealand, who did the minimum, who weren't taking in as many as they could have.
Will slam them. And my thoughts are that, countries that have been built on the backs of foreign workers, countries that have been built by immigrants, have no right to have a hard no policy on immigration and refugees. Countries like Australia, countries like New Zealand, America, France, Spain, all these countries, they shouldn't have a hard no, because their whole democracy, their whole system has been built by immigrants.
That's fair. And here's the point of that, which I agree with you on, right? The point of that or the part of that I agree with you on is this. Not necessarily for the same reasons. Countries like America, countries like the UK, and smaller countries that participate in military action, you do not have the right to refuse refugees who are refugees because of the destabilization and the issues that you created. And I remember I was watching Vice with my students, and one of my students, he was from Samoa, and he laughed. And he was like, it's like they expect America to fix all of their problems.
But when
and he didn't get why. And so I had to really break it down and explain it for him. And I said, listen, the reason that they expect that is because America created these issues. They went in for oil and resources, and they bombed and they killed and they trained and employed all of these terrorist groups and these military groups that became terrorist groups and military groups, and supplied them with the weapons and gave them a market for the drugs. So these regions are the way they are because the war started by America and these European countries. And so as the source of that, you don't really have a right to not handle the situation that you've created. And so from that aspect of it, I agree with you, right? But from the perspective of the Maori nationalist that I am, the Kanaka nationalist that I am, right? The majority, one of the number one issues that I have in Aotearoa, New Zealand, for those of us that don't know what that means, one of the number one issues that I have is that people get far too comfortable and they forget that they live in a Maori country.
Yeah, I agree.
And regardless of what's PC and equality and all of that, Maori should come first in their own country, and they very typically come last. Okay? In almost every aspect that you can think of, regardless of what the treaties are and how the iwis are operating. And there are a lot of people, even especially Pacifica, that have issues with the Maori, and the Maori get this and the Maori get that. You live in and benefit from a system created from stealing from and disenfranchising the Maori people.
That's why
and
I
nothing that they've been given back equates to what's been taken, and the fact that 90% of the land ownership in the country does not belong to the Maori. So for people as foreigners to come and then slander and have complaints about the Maori in their own country is an issue for me. And I don't think bringing refugees into the country when Maori don't have the things that they need is helping anything. And I don't think it's going to get anything moved forward for the Maori people that much sooner.
I agree with you, but I feel like you can do both at the same time.
And it's funny because that I remember you saying that.
You can make initiatives and put, try to make the situation better for Maori people at the same time doing your bit to bring in refugees. I also believe that I agree with you. I feel like proper consultation and input from Indigenous peoples of the land is needed, which is why I heavily believe that there needs to be mandatory seats in Parliament for Indigenous peoples. Which Māori people have, and I feel like there should be more input from them. Not more input from them, but they consulting. Like, you don't ask them.
I get what you're saying, and that definitely that's a big part of it and needs to change. But I'm also going to actively disagree with you at the base of your statement. This is not to sit on a high horse. One of the most frustrating things in life for me is in terms of government and people. I constantly have to watch people fail or half-ass and not even do one thing properly, to not even put all of their effort into one thing. And that's governments and individuals. So if they can't get one thing right, like housing for everyone, much less the Maori people, and all of these families in Auckland and South Auckland who are homeless and living in their cars and all of these other situations, and they can't get the dole right and they can't get the work system right, okay? And Wins is telling people to cash in their life insurance to provide for their families, then no, I don't think that they can get the refugee thing and the Maori thing right. And another part of this that made this such a topic that we needed to touch on is, again, our same best friend who we're talking about. There have been women dying recently in Aotearoa because of domestic abuse and lots of different things, and even car accidents. And we're talking about the difference in justice served for people who commit crimes against Maori and people who commit crimes against Pakeha. And the justice served in those situations is completely different. Yeah. My best friend's mother was killed by a drunk driver. And they gave him 18 months suspended license, no jail time. And he went and argued that was too hard, and they dropped it down to 12 months. No time served. Okay? Yeah. And that's not an isolated situation. And when I found that out, it hurt me in my heart so bad that that's something that she had to live with all this time. Because I'm telling you, it's not PC, it's not acceptable, it's not correct, but I'm telling you, as a father, as a husband, as a man, if it was my daughter, if it was my wife, if it was my mother, and that's all the time somebody got, then I'm going to be in the jail for the rest of my life because I'm killing somebody. So no, I don't believe that they can do both things at the same time. And until
I didn't say that they can do them amazingly well at the same time.
Then why do it at all?
I'm just saying that they can do it at the same time because that's the rule of Parliament. That's the rule of government, Oyabun.
No, I'm not trying to. That's the point of this episode. I'm not even trying.
That's the role of government. Like, you can't just neglect one whole ass issue because we feel like you're not going to be able to do it right. No, that's not how it works.
I get you. Realistically and reasonably, I get you.
Yeah, but also, yes.
But my first, when I'm in Aotearoa, my first, main, and largely only concern is
you know what
I mean? I'm in the words
you deeply care, and so
to quote Pusha T, and I've been saying it since I heard him say it. I'm not in the middle on nothing. Okay, I'm very sincerely about the causes that I'm about, and in Aotearoa, my first and primary and most important cause is any cause that represents the improvement of the lives and the empowerment of the Maori people.
Yeah, but I 100% agree. But we still have a responsibility.
I get you.
To refugees.
I get you.
And if economically and infrastructure-wise we can take them in, then I feel like we should. I feel like if we can't, then we can't. Like for Auckland right now, we can't.
Then there's a
like for
need,
Auckland right now, the housing situation is there's not enough houses for the people that live in Auckland. So no, that just doesn't. Is not fiscally,
but in other parts and places where they do. Yeah, no, I got you, and that makes sense. And this is part of why the Wakanda debate plays such a big part in it. I don't know if you guys have seen the Black Panther, but even before the movie came out, we are and have always been long-term Black Panther fans of the comic. I got her started reading the
more
comic.
so you than I. You got me started reading the comics, but you're like a long-time reader.
A long time reader, right? And so in the movie, Black Panther represents his kingdom, his nation, and his cousin, who was left and raised as an outsider and is based and built his life on revenge for not just the death of his father, but not being accepted and allowed into this community, is trying to destroy them because he feels as though this intact, powerful nation has turned its back on and abandoned all of the people around the world to look like them. And the response that T'Challa gives, which is accurate, is I'm not everyone's king. His duty and his responsibility is to his kingdom. And so there's Killmonger, who represents the diaspora and all of the people that have been left out in the cold and aren't accepted and loved by their culture and their people because they weren't born on the island and they're not thought of as being fully a part of the race and culture. And then there's the island and there's the country of Wakanda that its only concern is its people who live there, and outsiders are not a concern to them.
Oh, this one is so hard for me.
I know you were very emotional when we watched this in the movies because I was already hardline where I was, and you were thinking about our girls because our girls are Afakasi.
Yes, our girls are Killmonger. Not like
no. I get you. I understand what you're saying.
But they were born outside of.
They were born outside of Samoa.
Yeah.
They were born outside of Hawaii. They were born outside of
Cuba. They were born outside of.
I got you. All of these places that would be considered
their culture. Like,
yeah.
They were born outside of. So I can see a lot of my daughters
represented in Killmonger's plight.
In his plight. But I also feel like T'Challa is right. He is not the king of everybody.
Facts.
And I feel like, yes, you don't need, in terms of immigration,
it's the refugee issue.
Yeah,
and
you don't need to bring in refugees into your country to Wakanda for you to be able to do international humanitarian aid. You can still go out and help, like Africa, parts of Africa. And so you don't need to bring in more people.
Exactly. And I'm very hardline on that because I'm a royalist and I'm a very staunch royalist. And in the history of Wakanda and in the comics, they say the only thing that matters is that Wakanda stays intact and survive. And if there's millions of people at your doorstep and they're dying, let them die. Because the risk of what they bring with them and what bring into your country and what they take away from the people itself is too great. And so Wakanda normally doesn't even give outside aid. They keep to themselves. They don't ask anyone for anything, but they also don't extend anything to others, traditionally. Do I think there's room for improvement on that? Yes. In terms of extending aid, like you just said, to people who need it? Yes. But never at any point do I think they should be responsible for allowing others in.
What about for like people like Killmonger who are born from Wakandans?
I'm gonna give you the same thing that has. Ooh, I'm sorry. That just hit me and made me understand why you feel this so hard. Okay, I get where you're coming from, right? Because I was getting ready to mirror the words that his father said, unquenchingly and unflinchingly with no problem, right? And that's very hard because even in my whānau and my family group, even amongst us, not all of our Maori are full Maori.
Yeah.
There are a lot of us who are Maori cookie and Maori tonguing and all of these different mixes. And then even beyond that, there are a lot of Maori in my life who consider and think of themselves as plastic. I call myself plastic all the time. Who don't speak their language and have no access to the culture and even actively stay away from it and try to not be seen as a part of it because of how negative the impact is in Aotearoa, which is why I have the anger that I have, because it's so fucked up that in your own country, people look at being Maori so negative you don't want to be identified as what you are. That hurts me. That hurts me very deeply. And it wasn't until that moment that I was just about to give my response.
So what was the quote that
his father... So the thing that I was going to say was his father tells him when he says, why can't we go home? And he says, because they will say that we are lost and that we don't belong. And it's true. How could Killmonger have a place there where he doesn't understand the culture, the tradition? He has no respect for it. He doesn't know who he is or what his people are. Is that his fault? No. But does that mean that he's... And here's where the debate comes in. Because when it comes to Afakasi, most of the Afakasi that I know... So here's the thing, right? Most of the Afakasi I know is super hard and double down on learning the culture and the history and the language and becoming as deeply rooted in it as they possibly can, because they don't get the acceptance. They have to work that much harder and fight that much harder to be seen and accepted
but on the other side,
as what they are.
Some who
you got full-blooded people that don't give a shit and don't care because it's not something they think about. No one ever questions if they're Samoan enough, if they're Tongan enough, if they're Maori enough. And so they're 100%. And they give no fucks. It means nothing to them. And so that's where it becomes a more interesting and difficult debate. Because at first I was going to be on the side of what his father said. Like, no, why is that Wakanda's problem? He's not Wakandan. I guess it's in his blood.
He is Wakandan.
I know. And that's when it became personal. I was like, oh, damn, all right, I need to... It didn't hit me until it became a Maori conversation in the same context. So it's complicated. But for me...
I feel like...
Here's what I love. Go ahead. Tell me what you feel, and then I'll give my reply.
Yeah, I feel like he is Wakandan. Whether you're... But should they be allowed to live in Wakanda is the question.
Right, so here's the Kanaka perspective on that. And I'm biased, right? Because when I'm in Aotearoa...
I feel like if your dad has
I'm
land
Maori
there,
first.
you can live there.
But when I'm in Hawaii, I'm Kanaka first, right? And so I'm biased in favor of Kanaka. I feel like Hawaii is the most beautiful of all our islands. I feel like Kanaka and Native Hawaiians are the most loving and accepting of all of our people culturally, which is part of why they've been so heavily destabilized. And here's the thing that I love about Kanaka culture that I've never really seen or heard in any other part of Pacifica Day. And it's very touch and go in the Maori community itself. But right, when it comes to the Kanaka community, we don't blood quantify. Okay? Even though the rest of Pacifica shames the fuck out of, Hawaii for it. We don't even say, do you speak the language? All the Kanaka ask is if you do your best to participate in our culture and be a part of what we are and believe in what we believe in and fight it for what we fight for, then you can be accepted in us and a part of us and amongst us. Point blank. Point blank. No conditions on that. And I feel like for every other part of Pacifica, is there love there? Yes. But it always comes with a, how much of this are you? How much of that are you?
I think, well, blood quantums are inherently racist anyway.
They are, and they come from European culture.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of Maori people are moving away from that. I also do feel like a lot of Pacific Islanders...
I don't see, but
moving away from
I think it's mostly Pacific Islanders. Not to be shitty, because I've never really heard that conversation or that discussion in the Maori community. And not even just because of how mixed most Maori are. That's not really something I hear Maori take the piss for. I never hear Maori like, you're not Maori enough. I only ever hear that conversation in Pacifica.
Yeah, it's a little.
I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me. If you've heard it, let me know. I'm just saying personally from my experiences.
Well, I don't know. It's a little rough because I know a lot of people who don't feel accepted in like Samoan culture because they're half, and I know a lot of people that they don't care that they're half. Like, they are Samoans, and even quarter people, like, they have so much pride in their culture. So I guess it really is just up to you and how much you want to.
I think the important part of this is, even in our conversation, and we're not saying we are, no one is the ultimate authority on this.
Exactly.
No one really has a right to make the ruling on how much of your culture you are.
But it is sometimes a little hard when you have a lot of gatekeepers and you're...
gatekeepers are inherently, again, and that's why I say gatekeepers are very much a part of the Pacifica community. And this is not to be slanderous or to take the piss or to be messed up. And again, if you guys agree or disagree or you think or feel things about this, we want to know.
Yeah.
Hit us up on that hashtag, please. Okay? Hashtag us on Twitter. Hashtag us on IG.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you think and you feel about this conversation. And our hashtag is Kokolesa, yeah? Because this is a big and important and powerful debate.
It is a big and important part. I think one point that I'd like to make is that countries that have not been colonized, indigenous countries, third world countries, I don't believe that they have a responsibility to take in refugees.
No.
In like people who haven't been colonized, like what's a country that hasn't? Brazil.
Tonga hasn't officially been colonized. Brazil is touch and go, but they haven't officially been colonized, but they still have a lot of civil issues, you know what I mean?
But I feel like they don't need to.
They don't have a response. Yeah, of course. Like the Philippines doesn't have... No one is trying to escape to the Philippines, which is why there's so many Filipinos in every other country in the world. But yeah, of course. Well, am I wrong?
Shout out to Miss Philippines. She became the...
Right?
Miss USA.
No, not Miss USA.
No, Miss Universe.
2018. Yeah. Dope. I see you try to save that and clean it up. That was nice.
No, because Miss USA was that racist chick that was...
Yeah, Miss USA, Miss Colombia, and I can't remember what the third... Miss Australia.
And they were like talking about that
racist Australia. Oh, right? Here's the other thing where we come into... Okay, so here's the immigration portion of it, right? For me, a lot of people show racism in New Zealand towards Asians, right?
Uh-huh.
And they think that Asians are the biggest factor of immigrants in the country. And that's brown Asians in terms of Indian Asians, and that's yellow Asians in terms of, I don't even know how we would classify that, but Asia Asians, right? But in each of those groups come with touch and go and give and take, and there's racism towards the indigenous and local communities from those groups, and so there's issues there. But for me, the biggest headache, I'm not even gonna pussyfoot around it, South Africans. You cannot spit in New Zealand without hitting a South African.
White South Africans.
White South Africans. And they bring their racism with them, which makes it even worse. They're so disrespectful. They're so, that Trevor Noah segment that we just watched.
Yeah.
Where it made me realize how recent the apartheid was. And for those of you who don't know, the apartheid was a period in South African history of extreme racism, civil rights level, where there was no mixing in between black and whites, and the Africans and the indigenous people were very disenfranchised. They couldn't have jobs. They couldn't make money. It was illegal for them to be in interracial relationships, all of that. And when I think about that, it was so recent that there are a lot of people alive today who grew up in that area, that era. And now things have changed for them, and white South Africans are now no longer the almighty kings of the nation.
So maybe you just can explain the Trevor Noah, how he was born a crime.
Yeah, so basically he went to talk to his grandmother about what it was like for him growing up, and his grandmother raised him, and it's because his mother was a black African woman, his father was a white South African man, and they had a baby, and he was literally born a crime. He was illegal, and his grandmother used to have stress and fear because he wanted to go out inside and play
with the other kids.
He couldn't, though, because if the cops saw him, they would take him, and he probably would have died. Yeah. Even as a little boy, because that's how illegal it was. And now that it hasn't been that way.
This is 30 years ago. This is 30. Yeah.
It's 30 years ago. But now, white South Africans who no longer are top dog are spreading out to all of these other countries. And they're bringing their racism and their entitlement and all of those things with them. And that, for me, is an issue. Because they are a heavily dominant immigrant minority in New Zealand.
Oh my goodness. I remember I was working at a call center once, and I had a call from a South African man, and he was going on about the Indians on the phone. He was like, oh, all the Indians come here, they take our jobs, they live in like 20 of them in a garage, and they work for lower pay, so they cut all of us out from getting jobs. And I'm like, really?
And here's the rough part, right? So there are things that make me angry, like when you go into a doctor's office on a form, New Zealand Kiwi is an option. Fuck you. That's not a European. What is it? European.
It's New Zealand European.
New Zealand European, which is not a real thing. Fuck you, right?
Exactly.
But white Kiwis have a lot of the same views as the South Africans. Okay? And that too is an issue for me because they feel very entitled that New Zealand is their country.
You know
okay?
What?
And they have a lot of the loudest voices on opposing Maori benefits and Maori issues.
But you know what? When they go overseas and they get drunk, they do the haka.
And
they do You know what's so funny is that they feel, I'm just gonna say,
they feel
Maori culture is not Kiwi culture.
It's not.
Maoris are Maori and they are also Kiwi, but Kiwis are not Maori.
And they feel as though they have a right to an ownership over Maori culture when it's marketable, okay? But when it comes to Maoris having... one of the biggest issues when we were home and we were in our first apartment, we used to watch the morning show or whatever it's called, people were pissed and angry that Maori had their own prison. Why are they special? Why do they get their own prison? And there's so much resentment, again, because so many white Kiwis know and understand that it's not their country. And having to live in that fact and be reminded of that makes them very angry.
They want to be oppressed so bad.
And so immigration is also a really rough issue for me, even as an expatriate, because it's, look at how the Aboriginals are treated horribly in Australia, again, by everyone, not just white Australians. And so is immigration dope for a lot of good reasons? Does it help people improve their lives and live better lives? Yes. But when you immigrate and you come over and have no respect for the culture and the community and you shit on indigenous people, then no, I'm not pro immigration at all.
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of your points, but I get a lot of your points, and I appreciate that you're very indigenous. You're a nationalist. You're a nationalist for indigenous people, and that's dope. And so am I in a lot of ways. But also,
and here's the thing. Here's why I go so hard on it, because a lot of people aren't real in their advocacy or their support. They're real about it until it doesn't benefit them or cover their interest. No, I say these things saying fuck me included. Even if it meant me never being allowed home in Hawaii again or never being allowed in Aotearoa again, if it meant everybody got pushed out who wasn't there for the country and the people, I'm good with it. I'll take that L. Yeah. As long as the Maori come first, as long as the Kanaka come first, I'll take that L.
Yeah. I guess we have... I don't know, I just have a very humanitarian side to me where I feel like we can't look the other way when it comes to refugees.
No, and that's fair. That's fair, and I believe in doing good things for people and taking care of the world and making it a better place, right? But I also don't believe... I don't believe in free rides. Fuck it, I'll just say it like that. If you take care of someone and you build them up and you help them to be stronger and they come and they contribute to the fabric and they make you better and stronger as a people and the world changes in a positive way, dope. But if you're like all of these colonizers who came over and you shit on the indigenous people and you took the hand up and then you fucking spit on Maori in their name, no, fuck you.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, like, immigrants that do come over. Mm-hmm. Like how Donald Trump was like, oh, they bring over the Mexicans, the rapists, and the... And
I'm not taking that road on it at all.
But like a lot of the...
Our parents are fucking immigrants.
I know, and a lot of the immigrants and refugees that do come over, they are extremely educated. Like
educated.
Yeah. They have degrees on degrees.
And they become some of the loyalist, most hardcore, devout patriots for their nations. So we can't base everybody...
But there's a lot of racism that is directed towards them. Like they call him the most educated Uber driver in Wellington because he has like degrees on degrees, like PhDs and stuff, but he can't find a job because he's black. And I'm not going against them, and I'm not saying, what I'm saying is my issue is with immigrants who come over and adopt the racism of colonizers towards indigenous people, just to clarify. But it does help change a lot of lives and do a lot of good things for people, and it is important, and it has allowed us to have our family and change our lives and live all over the world. And so, I understand the positive aspects for it, but I'm pro-indigenous even before I'm my own self-interest. Yeah, so I think this is a good place to
wrap it up. I think this is really what people thought the first one was going to be. It's going to be very interesting to see how this comes off. Just so it's not all serious and it's not too hot and heavy, we will also be dropping a Christmas episode on Christmas Day. We want to thank everybody so much again for all the love and support. We really appreciate you guys. Season 2 has been rolling out great. Anything you want to toss in?
If there's anything you guys disagree with or agree with, give us a follow on the Kokalesa Twitter or Facebook page or Instagram.
IG, and let us know what you think and how you feel.
And if you are a South African, please do not be offended.
Fuck. If you're a white South African, you can kiss my ass.
No. Listen, we had a great white South African, Lindsay, remember?
I didn't know she was white South African.
Yeah, because she had like a British accent or something.
She was dope. She was great, but the rest of you motherfuckers can still kiss my ass. All right.
Anyway.
That's us. Thank you, guys. We love you. We'll talk to you guys next week.